The shifted house. They say vacations are for leaving your troubles behind. But what if you leave everything behind? And what if the new place you're stuck in reveals secrets you never wanted to know? My name's Owen, and I thought this trip would bring my family closer together. Turns out it was the beginning of the end. We'd rented this massive beach house on the edge of a cliff. Mom had insisted we all needed a getaway. Me, my sister Kayla, our parents, even Grandpa, who was still sharp for his age but prone to wandering off mid-sentence. It was supposed to be a week of sand, sunsets, and forgetting all the stuff we didn't say out loud. I should have known something was off when the rental agent handed me the keys with this weird, nervous smile. The house has character, she'd said, like it was both a selling point and a warning. But the view was incredible, and for once no one in my family was arguing. The first night was peaceful. Too peaceful. The air felt charged, like the moments before a thunderstorm, but there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Kayla joked that the house felt like it was watching us, and we all laughed. Except Grandpa. He just stared out the window and muttered something about the fractures in the veil. It happened on the second night. We were all sitting in the living room after dinner, half listening to Grandpa's stories about his army days. That's when the ground shook, not like an earthquake but more like the world itself had hiccuped. The lights flickered, the air pressure dropped, and then everything went still. For a moment we thought it was over. But then Kayla gasped and pointed out the window. Where the ocean had been, there was now a shimmering void, like someone had peeled back the sky and replaced it with a kaleidoscope of swirling colors. The beach was gone. The cliff too. In their place was a dense, alien forest with trees that glowed faintly blue and vines that moved as if they were alive. We were somewhere else. Dad tried to open the front door, but it wouldn't budge. Every window showed the same surreal landscape. The Wi-Fi was dead, our phones were useless, and the clocks had stopped. Panic started to set in, but then Grandpa spoke up. "I told you," he said, his voice steadier than I'd ever heard it. "The fractures. They've come for us." That's when the real questions began. What fractures? How did Grandpa know about this? And why did he keep looking at me like I was the answer? It was Kayla who found the journal tucked away in the desk of the master bedroom. It wasn't Dad's handwriting. It wasn't even Grandpa's. It was mine. Or it looked like mine. The entries were written in a strange, looping script, but the words, those were unmistakably mine. They described this exact event. The house shifting, the alien forest, even the arguments we were having. The final entry was a warning. Don't tell them the truth. They find out, it all ends. I had no memory of writing it, and yet my hands shook as I flipped through the pages. Kayla snatched the journal from me before I could hide it. She started reading aloud, her voice rising with each entry. "What the hell, Owen?" she shouted, turning to me with wide eyes. "You knew about this? About all of it?" "I didn't," I stammered, but the look on her face said she didn't believe me. And neither did Mom and Dad. Grandpa, though, he just nodded like he'd been waiting for this. "You triggered it, didn't you?" he said, his tone calm but accusing. "You made a deal." "A deal?" The words chilled me, but something deep in my mind shifted like a lock turning. Memories I didn't know I had began surfacing. The late-night conversations I'd had with a shadowy figure in my dreams. The promises I'd made to escape the monotony of life back home. The assurances that my family would come with me, unharmed. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. I had done this, but it wasn't supposed to happen like this. The figure had promised me a paradise, a fresh start where everything would be perfect. Instead, we were trapped in a world that seemed to be falling apart at the seams. The argument erupted. Kayla accused me of lying. Mom and Dad demanded answers. Grandpa just stood there, watching, his expression unreadable. And then the house shook again. The vines from the forest began creeping through the cracks in the walls, their glowing tendrils pulsing with life. The air grew heavy, and the journal in Kayla's hand started to glow. The final warning appeared, scrawled in bright red ink across the page. One must stay. The others can go. The choice was clear, and everyone was looking at me. I don't know how this ends. I don't know if I'll stay behind or if the house will claim someone else. But I do know one thing. Vacations are never just about leaving your troubles behind. Sometimes they're about finding out who you really are. And sometimes you don't like the answer. If you're hearing this, maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll see why I did what I did. Or maybe you'll just call me a coward.